environmental justice. That's a very important part of all of this for the president, justice, and creating good paying, clean energy jobs. So it's about the health of our children, the air they breathe, water they drink. It's about jobs, creating good paying green jobs to make us preeminent in the world. It's about a security issue, as our security experts tell us, competition for habitat and resources in time of drought and the rest, and the migration it contributes to, other natural disasters. It's a national security issue, and of course always a moral issue to pass this planet in the best possible way on to future generations. Children understand that much better than some of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, in fact. So this will build back better, achieves better future for workers, their families, and their children, creating good-paying jobs, giving a tax cut, a big tax cut to the middle class, lowering costs for families, and making the wealthiest and corporations pay their fair share. So this legislation will be paid for. In fact, it may be more than paid for. Again, it's transformative, it's historic, it's life-changing, and it will pass soon. Again, everything that the congressional Democrats do is our title, for the people. But sadly, Senate Republicans continue to stand in the way. Yesterday was such a sad day. Senate Republicans voted to aid and abet the most dangerous campaign of voter suppression since Jim Crow, as they blocked a vote on the Freedom to Vote Act, hurting their own constituents and dishonoring the sanctity of the vote in our Constitution. The stakes could not be higher. State lawmakers have introduced 425 voter suppression bills in 49 states in the 2021 sessions alone. A number of them have become law, and they must be overturned, and this legislation would do that. It would not only end their voter suppression laws, but it would end their vote nullification laws. They're there to overturn the results of an election. Really? House Democrats have passed H.R. 1, which is now the bill that I mentioned in the Senate, the Freedom to Vote Act, as modified in the Senate. It's a good bill. H.R. 4, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And today, when I leave here, I'll go out this door and go to the 10th anniversary of the MLK Memorial dedication. The MLK Memorial, 10 years it's been. Imagine, Martin Luther King was 58 years ago, nearly 60 years ago, when he stood near that place and talked about justice and democracy, and the beautiful speech, I had a dream speech, a fierce urgency of now. Now Martin Luther King is there on the mall, as John Lewis called it, America's front yard, with Washington and Lincoln and Jefferson, presidents of the United States, and Reverend Martin Luther King. So we'll go down there, and in honoring Dr. King, of course, being inspired by his work and words to protect the ballot. Meanwhile, here on the Hill, the Select Committee on January 6th continues its work this week unanimously on a bipartisan basis, voting to hold one of the past president's advisors to contempt for failing to comply with a congressional subpoena. The committee is seeking information from Bannon that is central to the investigative and legislative purpose to investigate the January 6th domestic terrorist attack that was intended to interfere with the peaceful constitutional transfer of power, and then see what legislation is necessary that springs from that. According to published reports, Bannon had specific knowledge about the events of January 6th before they occurred, and had multiple roles relevant to the attack, and very outspoken about it. Today on the floor, the House will vote to approve this contempt resolution led by the committee to find the truth. Okay, so everything that, again, we've got everything the congressional the sanctity of the vote, the assault on the Constitution, and meeting the needs of the people. We have a busy few days here. Any questions?
Madam Speaker.
Yes,
Bannon, why is it important that Republicans vote to hold him in contempt?
Well, because they take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. The genius of our Constitution and of our founders was the separation of power, checks and balances. If, in fact, you want to negate the ability of one check of another branch of government over another, then you are undermining the Constitution. So this goes beyond Bannon in terms of its importance, and you would think that if they take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution, they would vote for the system of checks and balances.
Are you curious if you think a package like this can be completed without rate increases, tax rate increases?
Oh, we've changed the subject?
Yes.
Well, that's one of the options, that's for sure. For the last couple of days, just to answer your question, the last couple of days we're narrowing what the possibilities are as we see what we need to cover, because the bill will be paid for. And so what are the choices that will be made? So we met yesterday morning to narrow what needs to be done, and the chairman of the Finance Committee, Mr. Wyden, and the chairman of Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Neal, have been working to that end. We had in our House bill, which I was very proud of, an increase in the corporate rate, and an increase in the capital gains, and that. It was a very well-received proposal because it wasn't punitive, it was fair. But we'll see what survives, what prevails.
What's your preference? Do you have a preference?
Well, my preference is to follow the cooperation that the Senate and House come to. Yes, Jen. Next one is a woman, no matter who.
So yesterday morning, you said some of the reporting about what was in and out of the bill was not accurate. Is that because this bill is still in flux, and does this have to be pre-baked with the Senate before you present it? Does everything have to be nailed down with the Senate and with Nancy and the Senate?
Whatever it is you think I said, what I was saying is that instead of covering what is in the bill, you all seem to be on a jag about a few people. 96% of the House and Senate Democrats support the president's proposal. You would never know that to see the reporting in it. But that's your work. You do yours, we do ours. You couldn't possibly misrepresent, because it isn't done yet, and it will be, because now we have to narrow the scope, and we are in the process of doing that.
And pre-baked with the Senate so that everything is signed off here, so that everything is finalized before you say this.
Our agreement is that we will have an agreement that we will pass both houses. Yes, ma'am.
How critical is it to reach an agreement on a framework by tomorrow? Leader Schumer says he wants to get this done by the end of the week. Are you on track to doing that?
We've always been on track for doing that. The House has been on schedule. We have a goal, we have a timetable, we have milestones, and we've met them all. And this is one of them.
And on the child tax credit, you talked about the importance of that. Would a one-year extension be sufficient or acceptable to you?
If that's what the president has agreed to. Let me just say, I want permanent child tax credit. I've wanted it for years. This is the president's big issue. It's called the Biden child tax credit. So if it's acceptable to him in light of the bill, it's acceptable to me. Climate, yes. Climate, yes.
On climate, the Clean Energy Performance Plan, if we're told on the record by other Democrats, is now out of the bill. Does the final bill have to meet the same emission reductions as was in the original House bill in order for you to accept it?
Yeah, the point is to reach the goals. The emission goals of, I think I said that in my remarks, of the reduction to 50% by 2030, reduction by 100% by 2050, maybe even ahead of that. We have a responsibility not only meet, but to beat the Paris Agreement goals, and we also have a responsibility to help poor countries with technology and assistance in order for them to meet their goals. Those countries are not responsible for very much of the climate crisis, but they are paying a big price because of their vulnerability. I had the privilege of speaking in Spain right before COVID at the most previous COVID 25 to a session on the vulnerables, and those countries in their own presentations show that they pay the price sooner than any of us, and yet they're least responsible for the emissions. So we have that big responsibility. So it isn't about a particular plan, it's about reaching our goals and how we do it. I feel very satisfied the path we're on to do that.
On the tax question, Senator Sinema, from what we understand, has opposed increasing corporate and individual tax rates. Has she conveyed that to you? And to follow up on Jake's question, could this be fully paid for, as you have promised, if her view prevails?
The bill will be fully paid for, and the matter is in the hands of our chairs of the Finance Committee and the Ways and Means Committee.
Has she conveyed that to you, her position to you?
Well, her position is well known.
Madam Speaker, on the
Will there be
contempt
an
resolution.
infrastructure vote
Yeah.
next week?
So far, Congress has, in recent years, has relied on contempt referrals and civil suits. Why continue to outsource enforcement of Congress's own authority to the courts? Why not, for instance, advance the Raskin-Liu bill to enable Congress's inherent contempt authority?
To advance what bill?
The Raskin-Liu bill resolution that would enable.
Well, we have a Protect Our Democracy legislation, which we will be advancing. It's being led by Mr. Adam Schiff, and Jamie, all of that captures many of those concerns. But we don't take it to court. We subpoena people. They take it to court. But the fact is that that's why we're going to criminal contempt here, because this goes beyond.
That still relies on the discretion of the Justice Department.
That does. That's a system of checks and balances. And again, you will be seeing in November, I don't have a date, that we will be ready to come forward with our Protect Our Democracy legislation, and that captures many of the ideas that members have put forth in that regard. I don't know if the Republicans want to protect our democracy. So far, we haven't seen a lot of evidence of that, but just in the prospect of maybe one day they think they'll have a Republican president, or we have a Democratic president now, and they want to protect our democracy from.
What happens if the Justice Department declines?
You know what? I want to tell you something. Have you read the Protect Our Democracy Act? Oh, good. Then you know it addresses many of the concerns that you have. Thank you all very much.
Will there be an infrastructure vote next week?